We ask at this time that if you don't have your cell phones silenced, please put them on stun or turn them off. That's what they say on Star Trek, right? Set them on stun. Okay, our celebration is about to begin with We Come Together.
Together in this moment, we bind our hearts and minds, for we all form a tapestry woven from one life, one creation, undivided, all unique expressions of God. We come together now in one accord. We come together in this moment. We bind our hearts and minds, for we all form a tapestry woven from one life, one creation, undivided, all unique expressions of God. We come together now in one accord. One creation, undivided, all unique expressions of God. We come together now in one accord. We come together in this moment. We bind our hearts and minds, for we all form a tapestry woven from one life, one creation, undivided, all unique expressions of God. We come together now in one accord. We come together now in one
Spirit, today I give thanks for balance, for the light and dark, for the sun and rain, for all that is, I give thanks for our wholeness that we remember in prayer. I give thanks for all fathers and father figures who gave us their wisdom, understanding, and love. I give thanks for all seasons, but especially summer in her burst of glory, showing us our inner beauty of our unlimited colors. When I open my mind and heart to the world around me, I become aware of all life, everywhere, here and there, one everlasting, eternal love. And so it is. And now we bless our children, and I invite you to pray the words on the screen. The big children, the small children. We love you. We bless you. We truly appreciate you, just the way you are, and we behold the Christ in you.
Welcome again. Happy Father's Day to all our fathers and all the father figures in our lives. For this special day, I wrote a poem dedicated to my loving husband, Roger, and also to all the other fathers in the world. It's called Bold Fatherhood. An ancient summons sounds in the man's spirit to shield his woman and their children, sometimes even with his own body, to honor her as the expression of Mother Goddess in both vulnerability and strength. Bold fatherhood draws out secreted reserves and wisdom from the very core of his sternum to preserve, to persevere, to go deeper than the popular images of manhood. Heartfelt fatherhood is the scaffolding of the child's reality. He is the holder of dreams as he reaches into the deep well of patience when young ones test him. Unflinching fathers are there for the long haul, not above the daily duties of fixing meals, helping with homework, tying the shoes of toddlers, or soothing the tears of adolescence. Courageous fatherhood separates the Peter Pans from the true men of integrity, who nurture without betrayal or false pride. Men whose smiles go deeper than the family photo. They understand that the small moments of comfort and tenderness are strung together to make for a lifetime lived in dedication to their ultimate mission of love for his and the human family. Thank you for letting me share that. And for those joining us from home and watching this celebration at a later time, thank you for joining us. We are so honored to have you as part of our family. We are, as we are, always in the right place at the right time, strategically placed in doing the grand design. So let us declare our faith. Take a moment to take a deep breath. And let's say this together in true sincerity. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Let's take another deep breath. And let us say it one more time, infusing it with the light energy that we are as we move this consciousness out into the world. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Feel that permeating. And now let us turn to the Daily Word. The Daily Word began in 1924 with a subscription list of 16,000 people. Within a year, that list had grown to over 43,000. Today, the Daily Word is read in 150 countries, translated into 6 languages. In its nearly 90 years of continual publication, it has been read by tens of millions of people throughout the world, inspiring people of all faiths to live healthy, prosperous, and meaningful lives. So today is Reverend Pat Call with the Daily Word.
Today's daily word is Father's love. I give thanks for my Father and all expressions of fatherly love. I treasure my childhood memories of feeling safe when my father or my father figure in my life was nearby. I remember my father's encouragement as I was learning to ride a bike, as we explored the wonders of nature together, and as he taught me to use money wisely. Even when I made youthful mistakes, my father's sometimes stern but always wise judgment helped me find the way back to my right path. I give thanks for both the sacred human and the unfolding expression of God within my Father and everyone who has blessed me with fatherly love. Today I pray for my father and for all fathers, affirming for each of them growing wisdom, understanding, and the willingness to nurture others with a father's encouraging love. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. From John 15:9.
So let's say the affirmation together. I give thanks for my Father and all expressions of fatherly love. Let's take a deep breath and say it again, thinking of all the fathers that have been in your life and our Heavenly Father. I give thanks for my Father and all expressions of fatherly love.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my soul go deeper, my soul go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my soul go deeper, my soul go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my love go deeper, my love go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my love go deeper, my love go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right
So I
here,
have loved you
right now,
from John
right where I am,
9.
I pray.
So let's say the affirmation together.
Right here,
Give thanks for my
right
Father
now,
and all the
right
creation
where I am,
of my life.
I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God.
I just want to thank you for that poem. That was amazing, beautiful. In fact, if I can have a copy, I would love to share it with my family at dinner tonight. My son is there, who's also a father. It was quite beautiful. I think that redefining what it means to be a man and a father really fell upon my generation. My father was a different father than I was, and yet he was called to be who he needed to be for his time. And I think some of us felt as we were growing up and with the women's movement and us becoming more conscious, there was a re-examination of what it means to be a man, to be a father. And there was sometimes some confusion in our role playing, and how should I show up, as a man, as a father today, so that I'm serving the family in all the ways that are needed. With my wife worked most of our life, and so I did play the role of nurturer at times, clumsily oftentimes, and certainly wasn't all that I could have been, I suppose, but I was all that I felt I could muster at the time. And so we'll probably talk about that today when I'm with my son and my other son who will be calling. Anyway, I digress, but I wanted to say that. And I do also want to give thanks for my father and for all that he was able to do, and honor him for how he did show up in our life. And one of the things he did for us was bring humor into the family, which was most welcome most of the time. But then there's the dad jokes, right? We all know about the dad jokes. These are not from my father, but I found these this morning. I thought, these are almost bordering on clever, so I'm not sure if they qualify as dad jokes that cause groans in most of us. So here are three of them. I was wondering why this Frisbee kept looking bigger and bigger. Then it hit me. Number 2, why can't you trust atoms? They make up everything. Eva's got it. Have to think about that for a moment. The last one, 3 conspiracy theorists walk into a bar. That's got to be more than a coincidence. I didn't hear any groans. Go ahead and groan now. Well, anyway, I'm grateful to be back with you. And as Tim said, these lessons in awakening, something that I'm really excited about sharing with you. And where it comes from for me is that I've been in Unity for almost 30 years. And what I find, and perhaps this is true for you also, is that even though I hear the same words, they land differently for me today than they did, even maybe a year ago. And I think that's to be honored, is that we are evolving consciousness. We are here to recognize this truth, not just as a remembrance from memorized words or scriptures that we refer to, but how they touch us, how they open our hearts, how they expand our sense of who we are. And that's really what truth is really designed for. It isn't meant to be something that you recite or something that you believe in necessarily. It's something that you know. And so my journey, my spiritual journey, is about deepening the appreciation of these truths so that instead of them having a dualistic relationship with them, such as, there's me and then there's the truth, it's for me to be able to embody the teachings, embody the truth, so that I feel like I am a living embodiment of love, of peace, of wholeness. And that's the invitation that I have for us, is that I share these things, and you'll hear familiar words from the master teacher, from Jesus, but maybe in a deeper understanding than you have considered before, or maybe the same understanding as you have before, but hearing it as an invitation to go inward as opposed to staying in our heads to understand the teaching. Because there is, I think, a component of spiritual growth that involves the head and involves the heart. Would you agree? That there's sort of, it starts like we learn anything that we learn, it sort of first has to filter through. It does for me anyway. Let me just say, I will cop to my rational orientation or bias even at times. Something needs to make sense to me, to my mind, before I will then give it permission to go further and to receive it into my heart, into the heart space. And that is, the heart space is where we join with the divine. It's not going to happen in the head, and I'll talk about why that is today. And I also want to mention, when I talk about the heart, and I do a lot because that has been really the journey from my head to my heart that has allowed me to grow spiritually. I tried to do it by understanding it intellectually, and it only took me so far, but it didn't take me far enough. And I think if we really want to have an expansive experience of the truth, we have to find that entry point within the heart of our being that already knows that it knows that it knows. And it sees these teachings as a recognition, as an awakening to what we have forgotten. Does that make sense? That we're not here to learn anything new. We're here to recapture and re-enliven and stimulate what has gone into, what's the word, latency, or it's been hibernating in our hearts. So I found this definition of heart today that I think is quite extraordinary, and it's from a contemporary teacher, Kabir Helminski, which he says kind of is a precise way of talking about what the heart is. Because so often we think of the heart, if we compare it with the head, we think of the heart as being the seat of our emotions, right? And that's where our feelings come from. But that's not the kind of heart that we're talking about when we're talking about the spiritual heart. We're talking about the wisdom heart as being an organ of spiritual capacity that you and I have, which allows us to learn the truth, to feel the truth, to know the truth, regardless of whatever the discursive mind or the mind that separates fact from fiction might have to say. It's something that we come to know. We intuit. So this is what he says. He says, we have subtle subconscious faculties that we are not using. Beyond the limited analytic intellect is a vast realm of mind that includes psychic and extrasensory abilities, intuition, wisdom, a sense of unity, aesthetic, qualitative and creative faculties, and image-forming and symbolic capacities. Though these faculties are many, we give them a single name with some justification because they are operating best when they are in concert. They comprise a mind, moreover, in spontaneous connection with the cosmic mind, the total mind that we call heart. The total mind that we call heart. And so when I talk about the heart, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this expanded sense of being that you can't even locate it. It is a sense. And I think women or people who tend to be more intuitive really understand this, because I have conversations with my wife that oftentimes go something like this. I'll say, that doesn't make any sense. I don't believe that. My wife will say, I just know it. And I'll say, but if it doesn't make any sense, how do you know it, right? And she says, it doesn't matter that it makes any sense because it's true. And I know that it's true. And so that is, I think that's what, we all have this capacity. We're androgynous beings. Because we're stuck in a male body or a female body doesn't mean that we can't adapt these faculties and develop these faculties. And I think that's been part of the journey that I have had as a male growing up in sort of a predominantly rational-minded philosophy of living that I got from my father, right? So as we grow, I think we tend to, along with a lot of other boundaries that get dissolved, the one around gender can be dissolved, not completely, but we can begin to become more appreciative of the other ways to take in information, to understand reality, not just from what our senses tell us, but we can rely upon our intuition. We can rely upon that part of us that seems to be connected with the big picture, that is not interested in, counting little parts and pieces and then trying to add it up into a whole, like putting Humpty Dumpty back together again, which of course didn't work out anyway. But there is some sense of seeing perceiving the actual wholeness that there already exists, and then recognizing that that's always present, even if our eyes perceive missing pieces, lack, limitation, and so forth. And that's really what the heart does for us. So this is not the talk that I was going to give, but isn't that interesting how it just sort of just unfolds that way? So if I run out of time, I'm just going to have to stop because I've already taken time. What time is it? Oh, there's the clock. That's good to see. 11 o'clock. All right. So did the dad jokes. So pursuing these lessons in awakening, and today what I wanted to do was I wanted to really, really talk about this idea of prayer from the consciousness of wholeness, because all of us have our own experience of how we came to learn about prayer in our life, and it may have been something that was a big part of your life, and maybe when you were growing up and as a child you'd be introduced to prayer. And if you came from a traditional Judeo-Christian family, your prayer life might have something to do with asking God for favor in some way, or to see if you can find your lost wallet or your lost cat or whatever. God is this sort of this notion of one who can solve all your problems and can fill in the missing pieces in your life, and and things of that nature. And so I think that is maybe one place to introduce people to the notion of a higher power that is omnipotent, as we say in the statement of faith here. But it's dualistic. And I think what I want to talk about today is understanding what Jesus meant when he said, when you pray, pray believing that you have received and it will be yours. Because that really is the essence of one presence and one power and this non-dual relationship. In other words, instead of there being a me, which is here, a separate finite entity existing, and then there is all of you, and then you are outside this inside self that I see myself as. And then there's this third person, this third entity called God that's up there who's sort of created the whole world. And so then I'm stuck with a very separate notion. There's a me, and there's a you, and there's a God out there, and somehow never the twain shall meet. And we feel like we're constantly in a tug of war of trying to close the gap between each other, between ourselves and our appreciation of divine, of a higher power. And that game goes on ad infinitum until we recognize through this wisdom heart of ours that all of these notions of separation are illusions, that they are essentially mirages. And every spiritual religion, from the mystical perspective, agrees with this notion that there is no separation between us at the essence of who we are. That only our ego or our separate sense of self gives witness to this. And of course, it's very compelling. We as we grow up, we're given these messages from our parents to help us distinguish between me and from my playmate, for example. This is yours and this is Bobby's, and it's just your body, and keep your hands to yourself, and all of that is necessary for us to make sense out of our physical experience. But if we take it to the nth degree, which most of us did, in other words, we ended up abandoning or conditioning over this sense of oneness that lies at the heart of us. And that spiritual life then becomes our working our way back to that original knowing of our connection to the one presence, the one power, the one life, and the one love. And we can't do that through our mind. We have to do it through this intuitive, knowing sense of self, of being, which never left the garden, which never got lost in the illusion of separation. Does that make sense? So if we're going to have this experience of unity and of oneness, we have to be willing to go within. And we say this all the time. In fact, I think it was, what's his name, who wrote the Conversations with God? Neil Donald Walsh, who came up with the statement, go within or go without, which I think is quite profound, actually. Because all that you and I are really looking for, despite whatever form it takes, it could be in relationship, it could be financial, it could be something that we want from the world, or something we want from another person. All of those lists of desires are all to accomplish a deep spiritual need. And that deep spiritual need is what we would call love, peace, happiness. It all comes down to that. And we can call it whatever we want to, but it really is a desire for us to close the gap between this sense of separation from who and what we truly are. And so prayer then, when seen through the context of that purpose, that is the purpose of prayer, then prayer is no longer so concerned with outer events and changing conditions in the world, because to do so actually, in many cases, feeds into a notion of separation and only deepens our sense of separation from God. So we don't want to argue for our limitations, do we? No, we don't. But oftentimes we do that. And so that's why prayer sometimes can be a human divine sort of activity where we name what it is that's challenging in our life or what seems to be missing in our life. And we hope and even affirm for a different reality, but we don't leave it there. Because if we say that this is the extent of my prayer, is that this changes, then what we're doing is we're belying the essential truth that we are already in touch at a spiritual level with everything that we're looking for. The peace and the love and the happiness is already hardwired into our being. It's already there, and we are just living. I think A Course in Miracles says it's we are at home in God, dreaming we are in exile. We are at home in God. So we don't have to go anywhere if we're at home in God, but we do go. I go. You go. We all go in our minds into a notion that what I'm really seeking is apart from me. And we go on journeys, and we all go on journeys. And I've been on many, many, many journeys of seeking, but never really finding that lasting peace and happiness. Because, guess what? It ain't out there. It just simply ain't out there. Now, there can be substitutes for peace and happiness. There can be things that catalyze our sense of peace and happiness. But it's only catalyzing what's already in us. It's only lighting up what has only gone dim because we have not opened our hearts to recognize it. And so that's what makes prayer a dynamic activity of not just saying the words, but then seeing how those words are already true, finding that space inside of you and I, where we are already enlightened, where we are already lit up, where we already feel this love and this peace and this joy, even though nothing may have changed. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So Jesus mentions in the Gospels 3 words which he mentions 27 times. And does anyone know what those 3 words are? He references it over and over again in parables and in precepts, stories. It's called the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven. And I think if any teacher mentions something 27 times, you probably should pay attention. In traditional terms, because it's going to be on the test. But maybe in life terms, it's going to be because it's going to be on the test called life, right? And of course, in traditional Christian understanding, the kingdom of heaven is someplace that you go to, typically after what? After you die. After you die. But Jesus seems to contradict that when he says the kingdom of heaven is within you. And the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So Jesus is a mystic, and he's talking about what's happening now. Jesus is in touch with the reality of the presence and the power and the love of God as an immediate, spontaneous recognition that is not rooted in historical records or past or future. So when he says the kingdom of heaven is at hand, he is telling us about a spatial here and a temporal now. And if we could just get that, just that, our prayer life would be enriched. The kingdom of heaven is here and now. And when you pray, pray believing that you have already received, and it will be yours. And that just confounds the ego that sees life as divided into little parts and parcels and sees all of us as being little, elements in a chess game, and that what is missing for us is can be evidenced by everything that we don't have in the material sense. And Jesus says, if you get stuck at that level, you are going to have trials and tribulations, and there's not going to be any grace. The grace comes from realizing that there is a greater power and a greater presence, and it's not her, and it ain't him, and it isn't the government, and it isn't your job, and it isn't your bank account, and it isn't the diagnosis, and it isn't the prognosis. It is the presence and the power and the love and the peace of God, which is not just what you're entitled to, but what you are made of at the essence of who you are. And this is the good news and the great joy. This is what turns the darkest night into a day that begins to bring light into our awareness. It keeps us from grieving to the extent that can take us further and further from this recognition. We have to look for the light. We affirm the light not to make it so, but so that, because it is so, and that we want to see it. And so often in our prayers, if we fall into the old paradigm, will be, God grant me this favor. God grant me this change of my circumstance. God make her this way. God make him that way. God bring him into my life. Bring her out of my life. Whatever. We just want to keep shuffling the chairs on the surface mind, which is a constant seek but not find. We keep coming up empty. As soon as one thing gets resolved, it's like the metaphor of the spinning plates at the circus act. You get this plate spinning. She loves me, she loves me. And then over here, the job is starting to falter. Over here, that plate is starting to wobble. So if we're externally referenced, if we're externally we are objectifying our life according to how things are looking outside of ourselves, then we are going to be vulnerable to all of the travails, the vagaries of life, the vicissitudes of the good winds that blow in our favor, and the winds of fortune and misfortune that move through a life. Jesus said, and so did the Buddha, it isn't that you're not going to have problems. Jesus said there will be what? Trials and tribulations. And in the same sentence, he didn't even take a breath. Be of good cheer, because there is an overcoming power. And the overcoming power was not what the people of his time thought that he was going to be, which was the military political ruler who was going to throw out the oppressors. He said the overcoming power is within you, and it's the changing in the hearts and minds of people that will change your reality, that will change your life, that will be reason for joy, will be reason for celebration, will be reason for extraordinary gratitude. Because if you don't have to make life a certain way for you to be okay, this is the very best news that you could possibly get. Is this not true? This is, So, time is flying by. I'm just going to close with this story. It's a Hindu teaching story, and then I'll go into a little meditation that will follow with that. So, an aging Hindu master grew tired of his apprentice complaining, and so one morning he sent him out for some salt. And when the apprentice returned, the master instructed this unhappy young man to put a handful of salt in a glass of water and then to drink it. How does it taste? The master asked. Bitter, spit the apprentice. The master chuckled and then asked the young man to take that same helpful handful of salt and put it in the lake. The two walked in silence to the nearby lake. And once the apprentice swirled his handful of salt in the water, the old man said, "Now, drink from the lake." And as the water dripped down the young man's chin, the master asked, "How does it taste?" "Fresh," remarked the apprentice. "Do you taste the salt?" asked the master. "No," said the young man. At this, the master sat beside this serious young man who so reminded him of himself, and took his hands, offering, "The pain of life is pure salt, no more, no less. The amount of pain in life remains the same, exactly the same. But the amount of bitterness we taste depends on the container we put the pain in. So when you are in pain, the only thing you can do is to enlarge your sense of things. Stop being a glass. Become a lake. So let's take this opportunity to expand our sense of things by going within. I just invite you to put everything down for a moment and take a deep cleansing breath. And as you exhale, just allow your attention to move out of your head and into your heart. As we settle into this time, we release those concerns that we may have, those bitter and difficult aspects of our life that visit everyone at some point. And we just become aware of just the I am that we are, sitting here, just noticing this sense of being. Simply being without being anything or anyone is the clearing aspect of prayer. It's not to rush into a sense of lack and then make demand. It's about letting go of everything that we think and drop into a place of what we know. And what we know is that we exist. We pronounce this by saying simply, I am. It's also the name that God said to Moses, "Tell them that I am sent me, sent you." And when we say the words I am, what we find is nothing more than awareness. I am aware. And then awareness can then be checked to see where are the bounds of awareness. Is it simply your body? Or can you be aware of reality beyond the body? Can you be aware of the space in this room? Become aware of the space in this room. And know that this awareness is all happening in you. Now extend that space spatial awareness out beyond this room into the surrounding land, this little pocket of Port Angeles, the neighbors, the neighborhood, the street, parking lot. And allow your awareness to widen in ever increasing circles of expansion. Become aware of Port Angeles just through the power of the unbounded nature of awareness. And now let's go vertically. Up 10 feet above, looking down on this spot where we sit. Now another 50 feet, and everything gets smaller. And yet our sense of being does not diminish. We are the awareness that has no bounds. And when we look at our lives from this expanded place, it's like the salt that goes from the glass into the lake. Those problems, those challenges, those resentments, those difficulties can all be contextualized in this ever-expanding sense of being. See how they diminish in size, in proportion, as your expanded sense of being grows. The tribulation, the trials, the sorrows, all of them are reduced, aren't they? And now the grand realization and the enlightenment is to know that you are this awareness. You are not your problems. You are aware of problems, and they happening in the life near yours, but you are not the body and the mind. You are the awareness, aware of a body and a mind and a problem and a solution. You think about all the problems that you've had in your life. Some of us have lived a while. They've come. They've been dealt with one way or another. And then they were gone. They became part of your history, our history. But you, the one who witnessed, the one who was there to tell the story of such matters, was never affected. Many of us, if lived a few years, feel the same sense of I am is no different now than it was when we were 5 years old. Bodies change. Many things have changed. Maybe our names has changed. But the aware one remains constant. So when we're talking about the divine of us, we're looking for that which is eternal and infinite. And unchanging and unchangeable. And this is what we are. This is the overcoming power of raising our consciousness to the appreciation and the recognition of who and what we really are. That we are spiritual in nature, first and foremost. Not a body, not a mind, but pure consciousness, created in the image and likeness of God. This is what it means to be the lake. To be expanded in our understanding and our appreciation of what life really is. Puts us in the league of the masters, who, as one said, I don't mind what happens. I don't mind what happens. And even for this I was born, to demonstrate the overcoming power of love in the midst of hatred, difficulty, enmity, to demonstrate the power of peace that passes all human understanding, to demonstrate a joy that can bubble up even in the great difficulties of life. Not because we are special, but because we are heaven-made. For this ever-evolving understanding and growing awareness of truth, we are grateful. We give thanks. The power and through the presence of a living, loving God, known here and now, for us, through us, and as us. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Larry, for that powerful, heartfelt message, reminding us of our I am nature. A lot of us have felt that if God gives us tribulations, it's our duty to tribulate. So it's nice now to raise above that and remember who we truly are. Thank you. So join me in reciting the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait. when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find God, I find myself.
Now is the time in the service when we move forward our love and gratitude by sharing of tithes, gifts, and offerings. We thank you in advance for all that comes through you. If you're making a love offering from home, please send your gift by mail to 2917 East Myrtle Street, Port Angeles, Washington, 98362, or go to our website at unityintheolympics.org and click on the yellow donate button to tithe by credit card or PayPal. We truly appreciate your support. And now, holding in our hands or in our hearts, let us bless our gifts as we move them forward together into the oneness as we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I give in love.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I
We are so grateful. We are so blessed. And we bless these offerings, these tithes, which were so generously given. We know, we see them changing our lives, this church, this community, and the world. And we are grateful and say thank you. We bless these prayers, intentions, in our prayer box. And we know, we absolutely believe that when these intentions, these concerns were written, we see, we envision, we know that these issues are resolved. So be it. I'm Pat Coughlin-Mawson. I'm your prayer chaplain today. Oh, and also, the prayers in the prayer box. I keep forgetting this part. We've changed so much in our service that we keep these prayers here and we pray over them with our chaplains and for 30 days. And then they're passed on to Silent Unity, where they pray also. Thank you. And I'm Pat Coughlin-Mawson, and I'm your chaplain. Anyone would like personal prayer, I'll be in the hallway, down the hall in the prayer room. Or you can send at any time, you can email your prayers, your concerns into us or call us. Thank you.
I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
It is so wonderful to have all of us here. Thank you for that beautiful message. Yes, and the circle will be unbroken. How wonderful to touch and love. Tim, I think we need you. Oh, yeah, maybe. All right. So let us state any prayer requests that we might have, so the power of our love and our energy today can send them out into the world to be transformed. So I pray for peace on earth and all leaders to gain the wisdom and to truly use God's wisdom and will in this world for the betterment of all. We all have so much to be grateful for.
And I pray for all of us to pray for Jenny's sister, Paula, who came for her surgery Friday. It was 5-hour surgery. And the whole family has been sent love, support, wisdom, healing, and wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I share my gratitude also that it was a year ago today, Father's Day, that I almost died. I had aneurysm on my aorta and didn't know it. I was in the presence of a doctor. He said, let's get you checked out. And I had hardly any symptoms. And he took me to the ER and just dropped me off on a Sunday when I was supposed to be in the church. They rushed me into surgery, and I was in surgery for 4 hours, and I survived, which is only a 15% chance of survival. So I'm filled with gratitude to still be among the living, about 80% back to where I was.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are very great.
I'm grateful.
Yes. Obviously, your life purpose is still going on.
That's right. That's right. Brought us together.
Absolutely. Thank you. So all of us are in the circle, and all of our prayers, loved ones. I, putting in the circle my daughter's boyfriend who's come down with COVID and all of his household. Luckily, she's not in that household right now. And just all the people who are still experiencing this pandemic. We are so grateful that we are lessening the impact of that, feeling less of the impact of that. We are vaccinated. But let us, yes, but we know that it's all consciousness anyway, so let us send love and prayer to all of them. So thank you.
They did one mysterious, they kidnapped my dad and took him to Minnesota for 1 more visit.
Oh, wonderful.
Oxygen tanks and all. They said, well, you can always scuba.
You can always scuba. That's wonderful. Anyone else? Hold all who have any kind of heartache going on right now. May they feel loving support and God's love. So let us say the prayer for protection back there. As God surrounds us, the love of